Okay, so I'm super excited to announce this product I've been working on for quite a while now, which is called Julio. Now, Julio is here to revolutionize content creation for SEO agencies and for marketing teams. And put simply, Julio is the platform for these teams, which is going to research, it's going to write, it's going to automatically publish content to your CMS, and then most importantly, it's going to re-optimize that content to make sure that it stays at the top of the rankings and it is continuously moving up. Now, before I get into exactly what the system does and how it works, I want to talk a little bit about why I'm here showing you this product when there are already 1,000,001 ways to create a piece of content. So I'm Ollie. I did my first SEO project at 15, and that pizza restaurant is still ranking, by the way. Anyway, since then, I have worked on over 30 independent SEO projects, and more recently, I've been working with some of the top SEO agencies, I would say in the world, in London and New York, to build their systems to create content which ranks their clients higher on Google. So what I'm saying is I've had first-hand experience in SEO, but also in some of the top SEO teams which exist to and build them systems which create super high quality content and allow their clients to get incredible results. And that's why I'm super excited to announce this product, which brings all the work I've done for the past 4 years into one place. Now, without further ado, let's go ahead and show you the product. So what we have here is a few different pages. And the first thing you'll notice is this is built in Airtable. Why? Well, this isn't a SaaS product as such. It's not something where you're stuck to our product updates to wait for changes. The point of this is we've built a system and a template which works incredibly well. And what we can now do is adapt this to your agency, to your workflow, add features depending on what you want. This product is flexible. Okay, so join me in the clients page. Essentially, this is the settings where we're going to go ahead and add new clients through this client onboarding form. We're going to add the kind of traditional client info. We're going to connect it to the CMS. We're going to connect it to Google Search Console. Then we're going to go ahead and click research. What's going to happen then is we generate these 3 columns. We're going to generate a website summary, which is going to be used through all the pieces of content we create. Essentially, super detailed overview on what this website does, what their primary offers are, what makes them unique, who we're writing for, audience pain point, tones of voice, and content gaps, etc. So we're getting a super detailed overview on what the hell is this client even doing with their lives. And then we're going to look at client testimonials, which is a super important feature because Google is looking for content which builds trust and shows you are the authoritative source. How this does this is you'll have a bank where you can add new things whenever a client maybe completes a new project. And what happens here is we're going to weave this into our content. For example, this client has managed these results for this client, and that's why they're the authoritative source. So these are the kind of backbones between creating super high quality blogs. And as agencies and a lot of SEO teams do use, also this, which is just style guidelines on how exactly things are going to be formatted when they're published to the CMS. So that's the backbone of our content creation. Now join me for the topics page, which as you can see is essentially what we might call clusters or pillar themes for our SEO content. Now these topics are picked automatically based on the clients, but they are far from random. There are a few different ways how topics are created, and you can see these ways in the opportunity analysis section. For example, this topic here, we can see that through Google Search Console data, it's generating quite a high number of monthly impressions with a low CTR. And from the SERP analysis, we've got opportunity here. And you can see that for all these pieces of content, there are real reasons why we have picked this topics. So it's not just knowledge on what the client needs to write about, it's real-time signals from the SERP, from opportunity gap analysis from competitors, and from what's already ranking and where we're missing out. So this is really important because this is the backbone of the content we create, but this is constantly getting refreshed. Think of this like a living, breathing keyword research sheet. It's constantly understanding what's being written about, where we're kind of moving up in rankings, and where we still need to create content. All you've got to do is then go ahead and pick to activate a topic or inactivate them if you don't think they're currently relevant. The next thing is topic intelligence. So we do two forms of research. We do it at the topic level, and then we do it at the content level, which I'll show you in a second. This is kind of a more high level overview research. Essentially, we're looking at why are we writing this? What's the current situation on the SERPs? What's the competitive landscape? And most importantly, asset planning. Now, this is something you won't see in other SEO content tools, but I've seen this being used by top marketing agencies. It's this idea of how we used to create content is by finding a topic, creating a blog post, and then publishing it. The problem is with that, we're not establishing topical authority. So what this system is going to go ahead and do is create assets. For example, let's say you are creating a piece of content on the best way to build a house. Okay, so you could create a guide, the best way to build a house. Then you could create another form of that asset. So for example, we could create a case study. We could create, this is how we built a house for X client. And then you might take that a step further and go, here's 5 best ways or 5 tips we use to build a house. They're all linking to the same topic, but we're creating assets. And that is what's working at the moment. And that's how we establish topical authority. So as you can see here, the research done at topic level is planning exactly what these assets are going to be. So we're going to have a comprehensive authority hub. Then we're going to have 3 supporting articles covering X, Y, and Z. That is based on real research. And once we have activated a topic, we're going to move through to the content pieces section. This is where we are looking at the exact blog posts we are going to write. If you don't like any of them, you can remove them, but these are constantly generated based on what you have activated in that topic section. You will see something called life cycle. Each piece of content has a life cycle. It's not just published and we forget about it, because after a while that content is going to be refreshed. We're going to redo our research, and that's why the life cycle, you can see whether it's being updated, whether it's scheduled to post, or whether it's currently on the site. We can see the asset type we've got here, which I just walked you through, and then a super detailed piece of research, which was obviously the core of how we write this topic. So firstly, like, what's the user trying to achieve? And then we're going to have the SERP blueprint. So we're looking at content gap analysis. We're having a look at what's ranking on AI models at the moment, what's ranking on the SERPs. And then we have section 3, which is our entity and concept map. So basically, how does this tie into our brand? Most importantly, where are we going to send the traffic to? How are we building internal links? Which page is this most relevant to build internal links? We're doing just some really good research based on real stats, which we're going to externally link to other sites for. And then credible sources to reference. We're having a look at real keyword research done by Data for SEO. If you wanted to do this piece of research manually, it would take you hours. So this is saving a lot of time, but it's also the clear reason why we are creating blog posts, which is more high quality than any other tool you're going to use, because this is properly researched. From there, all we're going to go ahead and do is create a draft, and you will see your blog post appear. You can go ahead and edit this as you like before it's published, and all you've got to go do here is publish your piece of content, schedule it for a date, and get that published. As you can see, it's not just that. We've also got meta titles. We've got meta descriptions. We've got some really incredible infographics. And by the way, this has all been autonomously generated. I haven't touched any of this. There's no graphic designer. There's no editor. And look, this is a beautiful looking infographic with branding from the client. And we have a kind of header image also. So the content is being created. This is automatically going to be laid out on your CMS. You just have to take a look at it and click publish. And if that's not enough, we then set the refresh cycle. So it's going to recommend, based on this piece of content, how often do you think we should be refreshing it? How often are competitors refreshing it? Is the topic basically changing a lot, or is it just changing a little bit? So we can then set here our refresh cycle. We have 3 different times. And obviously we're going to talk about that a little bit later. And then all you've got to go ahead and do is set a schedule for the post. So that's the main armor behind it. And what you'll notice is the interface is so simple, But what we've just created is a super advanced, well-researched blog post, which has been proven multiple times to perform incredibly on Google and get you ranks on AI models. Okay, we've got 2 more sections left, and this is performance. I also love this section because super simply, we're looking at every blog post we've published. We're looking if it's ranking, and we're looking how it's comparing to the previous 30 days. Is it going up or is it going down? Now, this doesn't mean a lot to clients. So what you'll notice here is in the client section, we've got the reporting frequency. And what you're going to see is every month or every week, depending on how you set it, you are going to have a performance brief sent directly to your inbox. Now, obviously this is kind of branded to Julio, but you can brand it exactly how you like to your agency. It uses Nano Bananas to create some really incredible widgets and gives you a super good overview on what's improved and everything you need to know for that week, or in that case, that month. Then we have my favorite section, which is optimized. Now, very few businesses are doing this because it is tricky to get right. But the content pieces that are winning nowadays are content pieces where you're not just throwing out a piece of content, hoping it ranks, and then publishing a really similar one a few years later because you've forgotten about it and then they're crossing over. No, once we create a piece of content, we are going to go ahead and make sure that continues to rank indefinitely. So here we have all the pieces of content that have recently been published. We got their URL and then we got their trigger. So what is the reason we're refreshing the content? For a lot of them, it's just a scheduled refresh. So you can see in the content pieces section, we have a refresh cycle. Every so often they're gonna be refreshed. But for some of them, it's also based on performance decline. If we're noticing that maybe a competitor has published a better piece of content, it's going to rewrite that content accordingly. Opportunity identified, again, a competitor gap or content expansion. And then we can see that this piece of content is going to either be scheduled to refresh, and we can see the performance and exactly what has changed there, and we can visit it through the link. I spent so much time perfecting this system because this is one of the trickiest things to get right. What you don't want is content which is constantly just flipping over for the sake of flipping over. So this AI agent, I think, is the best at identifying exactly when a piece of content needs to be changed, what needs to be changed, and a lot of the time when nothing needs to be changed, and step back and say, do you know what, we don't need to change anything here. Again, these are systems which I have built in 2 SEO agencies and now brought exactly into Julio. So thank you for taking the time to check out Julio. I would love to chat to you. I would love to chat to your agency because I think that this has huge opportunity inside your business. So book a call with me on this website below and let's chat about Julio. Okay, cheers for your time. Bye-bye.